Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. How we all doing? Welcome to the most anticipated webinar of the year, Vision Bling Webinar 7.0. And in this webinar, as you already know from the massive publicity we've been doing, we're going to be talking about software engineering today. So I want to welcome each and every one of you very, very specially. Um, Apologies for starting 8 minutes late. We were trying to wait for other people to join, but we just figured out that it would be a disservice to your time to not, start on time. So we'll start and then the rest will join wherever they meet us. Please confirm if you can hear me before we, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so can everyone see my screen? Okay, okay, lovely. So like I said, welcome to Vision Bling Webinar 7.0. My name is Onyinye. I'm the host for today's webinar. So sit back, relax. You're about to enter into a world of software engineering. Okay, so first things first, before we delve into the webinar proper, we have to talk about ourselves. So I know you've been hearing Vision Bling, Vision Bling, Vision Bling, but maybe you don't know what Vision Bling is about. Maybe you saw it on someone's status or you saw it on Facebook or Instagram. So a little bit about us is Vision Bling. Our goal at Vision Blink is basically to empower young people in the tech industry by providing support and resources for them to start and advance their careers in tech. So we are all about young people that have passion for tech. We have passion for young people that have passion for tech, right? And how do we do this? We do this by doing online webinars like the ones that you're attending today. We also do some online trainings. We've had online trainings in the past, UI, UX, cybersecurity, and a host of so many others. You can check out our YouTube channel maybe after this call, after this webinar, to just familiarize yourself with the things that we do. We also offer mentorship, right? I think in our last webinar we had some people from Tech Academy Solution come to just talk about DevOps, right? And they opened up their doors to mentoring. So aside the fact that we bring other mentors into the platform, we also by ourselves do mentoring, right? And then the last thing on the list is Tech Innovator Challenge. So as a way of culture, we usually organize well, we can call it a hackathon in quoted marks, where people that have bright ideas come and they just pitch their ideas to us. If you look at this picture, right, this was our last year's Tech Innovator Challenge, and this was a team that got second runner up, right? So we do that also. So all these things in a bit to just empower young people to thrive in the tech industry. And the best part about it is that it is absolutely free. Since the inception of Vision Bling, we have not collected one dime, one naira from anybody to say that we are training them. As a matter of fact, we even go out of our way to give some people scholarships. There have been people that have gotten scholarships in the past, right? So that is what Vision Bling is basically about. So yeah, without further ado, we're just going to get straight into the webinar today. And the agenda for today's webinar is number one, software engineering roadmap, right? So you joining this call, you probably have passion or you have an inkling towards software engineering, but you don't know where to start. Just sit back and relax. Today, all your confusions and doubts will be cleared. So in today's webinar, we're going to be talking about software engineering roadmap. How exactly do you become a successful software engineer? What courses should you take? What bootcamp should you attend? We'll be answering all your questions here today. As if that is not enough, we're also within CV optimization, where we look at people that, okay, may have done one or two courses or bootcamps and they have a CV, right? But then they are sending out their CVs and they're not getting the appropriate response. So today we're also going to look at CVs and we're going to show you how to optimize your CV. Aside that, we're also going to give you interview tips and learning resources. So a round of applause for us as we begin this webinar. Uh, thank you. Keep it coming. Thank you. So today we have two amazing guest speakers that will be talking to us about this topic today. And we couldn't have looked for a better speaker, right? We're going to look for better speakers. And so the first person is, I say person, the first madam, my madam, Ulomo Kenyi. Ulomo Kenyi is a senior software engineer. And aside just being a senior software engineer, she has the passion for young people. As a matter of fact, she is the founder of Vision Bling. So she is the brain and muscle and everything behind Vision Bling. She is the one that has the initiative. So she has over 10 years experience and she's a highly skilled software engineer specialized in software design and development using diverse programs. She excels in translating business requirements into secure, efficient, and sustainable user-friendly solutions. And Akopa Keba, beyond her technical prowess, which is actually a lot, she's the founder of Vision Bling, a community initiative dedicated to empowering young individuals to transition into the tech sector, of which you are benefiting from it today. So a round of applause for our first speaker and founder of Vision Bling, the brain behind all this. Secondly, we have our second guest speaker by name Ugusomto. Ugusomto is another big guy in the game. He might, when he comes on to talk, he might sound modest, but please don't let that fool you. So he's the founder and CEO of Codeland CS. He's also an ambitious software engineer that is passionate about innovation and driven by challenging problems. So he likes to challenge problems, right? So he's proficient in developing scalable systems and he's well versed in a variety of programming languages. He is also known to leverage open source technologies. He enjoys mentoring and guiding aspiring individuals to find fulfillment in their careers. And that is why we couldn't have chosen a better speaker. So a round of applause for Ugusomto. He's also here, and I can't wait for what you and Madam Uloma have for us today. I am excited. So, yes. If we're not
I
seeing
want
any
to say something
reactions.
before you continue.
Okay, please.
I know the next part is introduction.
Yes.
Please, I'm a bit I don't know what I say sad. I'm not really happy because the attendance of this webinar, it's so low. And I just feel like I don't know how I feel, but that's fine. So what I just want to beg everyone that is here, if you can just copy this link, share it on your status or any social media platform so that more people can join us, because I feel that we have so much to give out for people to just miss this webinar. So yeah, that's just what I want to say. Thank you.
All right. Please, if you know a friend or a colleague that would definitely gain from this webinar, it would be doing them a disservice if you don't copy the link and share it. Then we have a lot in store. You saw the agenda. It's not a small people's play. So please do that. So okay, we are going to go ahead and let the guests introduce themselves. We'll be starting with Ugu Somto. So he will just do sort of like a background introduction, introduce himself, and then we'll take it off from there. So Somto, you're up.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So when you have done all the introduction that needs to be done, basically, I'm a software engineer, and most of the time I spend my time building and also leading, my team. Currently, we are building Codeland CS, which is an online learning platform, and DigitPay, which is a crypto-based platform that helps people easily spend their crypto in Naira. And it's been amazing so far. Basically, I'm here to share a lot that I've learned over the years, and also learn from people, from questions that will be asked, and see how things goes. So I think I can get started, right?
Before you do that, thank you so much for that introduction. We wanted to ask, because I know that a lot of aspiring software engineers and they want to know what is actually a day in the life of a software engineer like, right? So can you just tell us what a typical day as a founder and a software engineer is?
Okay. If you're a founder, a software engineer, so my day looks like this. I wake up around 7:30, sometimes 7, right? And I spend most of the early mornings to pray. Then we have our company stand-up meeting by 8:30. So I both run a company and I also work for other persons. So I basically do 30 minutes of our stand-up in the company that I run. And then 10 o'clock is another stand-up for the company that I work for. So after that is basically building, fixing. I'm building on features that we assign to you or the features in our own product and getting feedbacks, joining calls from my team if they have any blocker or helping merge PR, review PR on my own team. Then, fixing bugs as well, a lot of bug fixing when it comes to um, building as a software engineer. Then probably around 6 o'clock, I stop work, take a walk, go buy some fruits and other things and eat because it's always a stressful day at the end of the day for a software engineer. Then come back, I work a little bit from that 7 to about 9 o'clock. I go to sleep. Then I have to. So when it's a lot easier when you're a software engineer just working for a company. But at the point where I am, I'm trying to bootstrap a startup too, actually. So I work mostly around the clock. It's not like that when you're just working for a single company. It's a lot easier because you have more time in your hands. But I use around 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. to do some coding in my own companies, right? And then I use mostly the daytime to do some coding in the companies that I work for. So for now, on average, in a day, I spend about 11 hours, but it's not like that if you're working for a single company. You probably will be coding maybe 6 to 7 hours max in a day. But now I spend on average 11 to 14 hours working. It can be coding, it can be meetings, it depends on what I'm doing at that time.
Wow, that is so amazing. You're doing a lot, and kudos to you. Wow, I didn't hear time where you used to use and sleep. Sleep
Yeah, so I sleep. My sleep is that's why I said
is for the weak.
no, no, that's why I said I spend like 1 a.m. to 5. So I sleep from 9 to around sometimes 9 to 1, 9 to 12. Then when I work till 5 a.m. I go back to sleep. I sleep from 5 till 7 or 7:30. So my sleep is a little bit, but if you correlate, most times I sleep about 6 hours, 5, 5 hours, 30 minutes in a day. So 6 to 5 hours, 30 minutes in a day most times. Then you also have to steal some 15 minutes sleep in between the normal day now.
Yeah,
If you
I totally understand. That is so amazing. You're doing so much great work. Kudos to you and the startup you're building. Okay, so before we begin, definitely we would hear from our other speaker. So the same thing, right? Tell us about yourself, a little bit about yourself, and then what a normal working day life is for you. So over to you.
Okay. Um, my name is Uloma Cynthia Okenyi. Like you said, I'm the founder of Vision Bling. But let's scratch that. Let me talk about myself as a software engineer. So I am an ASP.NET senior software engineer with over a decade of experience. I have 12 years of experience in building and developing enterprise solution. So I can count my experience above that, but I started very well in 2012 after my NYSC. Started as a junior dev from there. Worked in a place called Overseas Management, where I started as an ASP.NET developer. From there, I moved into becoming a Java developer. I worked with Java and Spring for 5 years. I was among the team that built solutions like stampduty.gov.ng, the system you use in paying stamp duty today. I was among that team. I was among the team that started CSC Post Incorporation. That was before I left and moved to another company called Senior Internet. So I've worked for Nigerian companies and I've worked for companies here in the UK. For companies, I started working for UK companies in 2020, worked for companies like Senior Internet, I worked for companies like Senior Internet, Elysian. I currently work for a utility company known as Everflow Tech here in Newcastle as a senior ASP.NET developer. So I'm all about developing suites, not just building software, but building solutions that can last for a lifetime, building maintainable, sustainable, good software. So that is basically who I am in summary.
Wow, that is so massive. See the way she just casually said what we're calling big names. Okay, oh. It's well, this humility, I pray it
Okay,
reaches me. I don't think I'll be humble as two of you when I become what I'm supposed to become. See the way they're just so casually doing it. But yeah, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Before we
then
move ahead, you have to tell us about your
95.
day. Yeah, your 9 to 5.
So as a senior software engineer for my 9 to 5, so when I wake up in the morning, honestly, my morning is always very chaotic because it's not easy. I'm a mom too, shuttling being a software engineer and being a mom. So and I heard something say, Shebi something said you used to pray. I don't know if I do all this. The first thing I do is to prepare my kids for school and take them to school. So I come back. So for currently where I work, and most organizations where I work, we use Azure DevOps to manage what we work on, our work items and all. So what I do first is just to log into Azure DevOps, go to the place as in the module we call bots, and check out the tasks that has been scheduled in for me. So most times it's either we are building in a new feature or we are fixing bugs, like Somto said. So currently now I'm building new features and most of them we are building APIs, endpoints. So I look at my tasks, what I have to do, and I start working on them. No, but before we start working on them, we do like daily stand up, like Somto said. So for every morning by 9:15 is our daily stand up. So I'll have to, give a brief feedback of what I worked previously, what I like, the task, kind of my update where I'm at in that particular task. I'll have to talk about it and what I hope to achieve that day. Now, sometimes if you are not having daily stand-up, because where I work currently, we use what is known as what we call agile method of building software, Scrum framework. So we have some days we are doing sprint planning, and sprint planning lasts for like 2 weeks. So we have to discuss what we are going to work on for 2 weeks. Now, sometimes after the sprint planning, we do what we call retro. Retro is kind of, we have a review of what we've done for that 2 weeks. But basically my days, pick up my task, work on that task. If I have any question, I belong to a team or pod called Alpha Pod. We have the other developers I work with. We have product managers I work with. We have QA. If they have any issue with testing out my work item, I would be on a call with them to explain what I've done. I also have a junior dev that I mentor too. Sometimes sometimes he have issue, I will have to sit on a call with him and just say, put him into one or two things to do. So like I said, building new features, I don't know if I can explain everything, but after building, like in our board, we have different stages of development. So once I'm done with developing, I test it on the dev, move it to ready for testing. Testers will pick it up, test, and they will sign off that if they have any issue to get back to me as a software engineer, I would have to, improve it and make sure it's perfect. Then before they test it again and sign it off. So that is my day to day. I close work by, I try to close work at least 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Initially, I used to do all this overtime, working weekends, but it's good. But I try as much as possible to take, to rest, because I can't come and kill myself and die. It's not easy being a software engineer, honestly. So I try to rest as, Yeah. So basically, that's me. That's what my day-to-day activity is like.
Wow, that sounds so amazing. You're also doing a lot, juggling being a mom, being a senior software developer, and also having the time to also mentor somebody else. I please, after this webinar, you pray for me. I want to tap from your grace, ma. I want to tap from your grace. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Amazing, amazing stuff. Please, my fellow people that are listening, people are just keeping quiet. I'm not seeing reactions. Please, if you're live on this webinar, please can we just let's give them a round of applause. It's not easy. They've come a really long way, and they want to show us the way. So let's open our ears and our eyes and see. Okay, so without further ado, let's just get straight into the webinar. I know you people heard a lot of things. You heard things like sprints. You heard, especially for people that are not even into the tech space at all. I know that you heard a lot of ambiguous things that were used, right? So don't worry, just sit back and relax. The webinar is about to start, and then at the end of the webinar, we will take all your questions. So if you have any questions in the middle of the webinar, just write them down, and then we'll get into it as the webinar progresses. Okay, so Somto, I think the ball is in your court right now.
All right. I shall have to share my screen, right?
Sorry, please. Onyinye, you can share your screen so that it's still the same slide. Or do you want to share your screen soon too?
Yeah, let me share my screen.
Okay, that's
all right. I'll share, so you can go ahead.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right. So I'm going to basically talk about software engineering, and we're going to go slide by slide on this. So the first is, I am very, very aware that everyone, that maybe 80% or 90% of the persons on this call, either looking at how to, transition into the space or learn about, what we do as engineers. So I would try as much as possible not to sound too technical for those who are still coming in new, because I know how hard it was for me hearing technical terms at the beginning of my career. So let's start with engineering as a word or a concept, right? When you look at engineering, I will still talk about the software side. You basically, in a very simple layman term, you're basically looking at someone, right? Or now I'll say the process or the act of being able to critically think, and from that critical thinking, fix or create or solve a problem or even break something. So I'll use an example. When we're kids, we used to have open day where our parents buys us like toy cars and all to go and showcase in schools. And back then, sometimes you'll be rolling your car and one tire will break off, right? And at that point, you have to become, or you have to have an engineering knowledge to fix that car, the tire. Most times you see, back then I'll bring in like spark glue and I'll glue the tire back to the car. But if I try to move it around, the tire wouldn't, be rotating again. So that's just practical engineering. There is nothing too complex about it. It's just that act of me even thinking. Nobody had to teach me that I have to spark glue it. It's just a critical thinking of trying to say, okay, if I spark glue this to the car again, the tire will not fall off. So, but at the same time, I didn't consider that if I glue it, it's glued forever. It will not be rotating again. But the engineering part of it is just that ability for me to think about a problem, right? Then decide to fix it with a particular approach, right? And then also at the same time, either decide to break it as well. So it could be that you're fixing something, it could be that you're building something, it could be that you're breaking something. But it's just that creative skill is what is termed as engineering. Now, before we still go back to the software engineering thing, we can also talk about software and at the least definition, without having to cram anything, a software basically is something that tells the computer what to do, right? It's just like looking at a country like Nigeria. A country wouldn't function without a government. You can't say this is a country, but there's no president, there's no, legislature, there's no judiciary and all, right? You need those bodies to control and give orders, right? And that's what a software does to, an electronic device or a computer. A software basically has that ability to instruct electronic devices on how to do certain things. Now, there are so many types of softwares which we can go into detail on, but at the simplest term, it is just something or a tool that instructs the computer on what to do, right? Now, if you coin those two words together, a software engineer or software engineering. So a software engineer is just if you use engineering to break, build, or fix things, then a software gives instructions to the computer. You're trying to be that person that builds that thing that gives instructions to the computer, right? So you're either breaking that thing, you're either fixing that thing, or you're building it. At the end of the day, any one of them, you're termed a software engineer. So by mere combining these two words together, you could literally know what a software engineer does without even having to memorize a written definition somewhere or not. So we can now move on to like why choose this career path, right? Why choose a career as software engineering? Most of us know that like in the software space, if you're not in the software space, you always have this love for people that are there, because most times you find them really passionate, right? And you find them really loving what they are doing, not people that complain so much about what they do. And one of the reasons can be, there's high demand, right, of our skills, right? There is a lot of people want our skill because in the 21st century, it is something you need. You need that skill in order to build certain things, because a lot of things are being, technology is being added to most things. So you need you need that skill, and that demand and supply increases the number of jobs in the job market for that. But it also varies. So you have to also consider location and the complexity of what you're doing. So in as much as software engineering is a term, there are different aspects of it, right? It's not just that you're a software engineer, you have to have a specialization in a particular part, right? So, and the specialization determines the kind of jobs you can apply to or you can get. And that kind of job, can vary depending on location, right? And depending on the complexity of what you're doing. So you wouldn't see a lot of job, out there in Nigeria, right, for people who are building maybe jet plane engines or programming BIOS for a particular airplane or something like that, or a particular software in an airplane, right? Because the industry, Nigeria is not a producer of we don't export such products, right? You might see it in a place like Germany. So that's where it comes in for like the location and the niche. You will see a lot of people demanding for mobile app engineers, web engineers, and and all, right, in Nigeria, because here there is a lot of products or companies that are building things around that particular skill set. So that's where the high demand comes in. Now, the complexity of what you're doing also determines, how much access you have. Like if you're just doing the basics, HTML, CSS, you might not have access to a lot of jobs because you're not doing something that complex that employers are looking for. So these are two things you have to really consider. Another one is good salary prospects. Good salary prospects is also an amazing thing, and it also depends on like how complex what you're doing is, right? If you're doing a very high-end expensive engineering, right, you might be paid a lot more. If you're doing something easy, you might not be paid a lot more, because if you look at it, easy things is actually very easy to learn easy things, right? So you have a lot of people competing for a small number of jobs because it's easy to learn that thing. But when you learn something complex, a little bit harder, people that want to learn it are few, and there's going to be a lot of jobs. And because there are few supplies, you're going to be paid even higher. So there's also good salary prospects here. Then in terms of opportunities for innovation and problem solving. So this I would say, one of the things about tech is there's this notion that, in tech, we solve problems to create problems, right? And the whole idea is for every single problem that is being solved in tech, there's a new, problem created, right? Let's look at social media. There was this need for connectivity, right? Before Facebook, your uncle could travel to the US and you will not see your uncle again. You'll not even have a way to chat with your uncle for months. I remember my dad buying a SIM. I think he bought a SIM for 25,000 naira back then. So, but with Facebook and WhatsApp now, you could easily message anybody across the world, right? But at the same time, it created a misinformation problem. And if you use Twitter a lot, you can see that spun up like a need for people to build companies that verify if this information is valid or not. Like if you're using Twitter, when someone posts something that is wrong, you can see that there's an AI that comes down and says this information is wrong. That separate AI that does that, if you look through, might be a company that Twitter has to buy and plug into their own system, right? So when you look at those kind of things, opportunities for innovation are there. You can always solve problems. And one interesting part of it is that it creates new ones, right? And also I would also like to clarify for some people that are trying to get into the space, these particular opportunities for innovation should give you that conviction that there is no point in tech where you get to and you say they have taken all the jobs. Like I remember when I was first starting, right? Most of my classmates back then used to complain, hey, the job, there will not be any jobs. So people have already taken up the job. But it doesn't work that way, right? Whenever something is solved, another problem is created. Whenever something is solved, another problem is created. And people will keep solving and to keep creating till the end, right? It doesn't end. It's just a cycle that, as problems are being solved, problems are being created, and you can be employed in any of those areas. So another nice thing about software engineering is the flexibility and remote work. Yeah, I love, some people will say COVID benefited us in a way, right? Because of that, lockdown, most companies were forced. Some people didn't want it, but most companies were forced to adopt it by force, right? They had to adopt remote work. They had to adopt the need for collaborative working online, right? But these days, you start to see recent news of companies also, pushing forward to tell people you have to come back to the office, maybe not every day. I know most companies will tell you at least come twice a day. It's still twice a week. It's still a nice offer compared to most disciplines where you have to go to work every single day, right? It gives you that, liberty to work from home for some time and come to the office for some time. And that's actually very nice. So it's a very nice part of you trying to choose a career in software engineering, that's freedom and liberty. Now, another one is personal growth and satisfaction. One interesting thing about working or being a software engineer is that if you work with a company that really loves your growth, like most companies I know would allocate engineers a separate kind of a quota, right? You can spend this quota to buy books, to take courses online to learn. You can even apply to change departments if you're, let's say, in the security department and you find the need that, okay, I want to advance my career towards maybe a DevOps department or a different department that manages like maybe accounting or something or AI. You can learn the necessary skills and push forward that to management for you to move from one department to the other. So that freedom, there are certain companies that are not structured that way, right? In terms of like maybe software companies, you can't easily just move from one department to the other because you have a conviction that that's where your career is headed to. So, but software engineering gives you that room, that liberty to do that. And it's also a reason why you should choose a career here. Now, when it comes to roles of a software engineer, right? At the core of it, just like I said, when it comes to software engineering, you build, break, or fix, a problem and you give a software instructions on what to do, and the software gives the computer those instructions. So writing code becomes one of the key skills you need to have. So coding is just that ability for you to write instructions that a software has to follow. Just see it as like a constitution, right? If we do not have constitution in Nigeria, a lot of people, you could just wake up in the morning and somebody will break into your house, carry your stuffs and go, right? Because there's no constitution. The same thing goes with code, right? You have to put in those set of rules, right, that the software has to follow in order to function, right? Now, when it comes to system design and system architecture, so this is like you designing, how the software has to work, right? You take time and structure, what the software has to do at each point in time. So let's say some of us here, everybody here must have used an ATM machine, right? So you can, part of what is happening on an ATM machine where if you slot in your card, okay, anybody saying anything? All right. So if you slot in your card and you do it in a particular way, the ATM will just swallow the card. Then you have to come back to the bank the next day and apply. So those things are, it was designed before it was programmed into the system. So you architect the system before you move down to even like writing the code. Testing and debugging is another part of, you building a software, and is a part of your responsibility as a software engineer. Because when it comes to building softwares, sometimes the software you're working on might be a very, very critical one that people's life depend on it, right? Let's say you're building a software that is going to be infused into an airplane controller, right? And you build it without even testing, right? And at the end of the day, it's been infused in the airplane and people are using it, people are flying back and forth, and something malfunctions because you did not test it, causing the death of maybe 200 people. So you can see that sometimes testing and debugging is a very, very key responsibility of a software engineer. And this is already easy in our generation now because there are tools and things that makes it a lot easier for you to do these things. You don't have to, it's not like 1999 testing and debugging or 2001 testing and debugging. The 2024 one is a lot easier, a lot better, a lot simpler. So then another example of this is we have seen a scenario where this happened with, I think, GT Bank, right? Where, if you're trying to use for about a week, their system was having issues back and forth. They had to pull it down for some time, maybe almost a week, and then get back up. So the need for testing is actually very important. Now, collaboration is another one. So this part, back before the remote work, this was a lot easier. You could come to work and you find your coworkers and you people discuss, dialogue on a particular problem. But now that we are mostly working remote, you have tools that create that virtual concept where people can easily collaborate. You see task management tools where you can manage tasks, like Madam Loma said, where she talked about tools where you pick up tasks and you do, it tells you when your deadline is, and it sends you mail when your deadline is coming up for you to know that, okay, you have to, work faster, deliver on time and all, right? So these collaborative tools, you have things like Jira, you have Trello, sorry, not Twilio. Have Trello, you have Slack, which is very, very popular among tech people. So you have all these tools that help you collaborate with your team. Then technical documentation. So technical documentation is, I would say, is a little bit close to system architecting, but this time around, it goes deep. So system architecting gives you a kind of a general overview of how the system is structured, but technical documentation goes deep, right? It goes really deep into how each part of the system works. So it's close to, it's more like a written code, right? Because in coding, you actually write the code, but in technical documentation, you specify what the person has to do in the coding. So it's like a written constitution, then the code is now like the, programmable constitution. So that's just the difference. Now, the problem solving and analytic thinking is, when you're a software engineer, you need to have that ability to look at things, think in a very basic way. Most times people ask me, do you need to know how to solve maths before you get into the software space? I will always say no. I have a friend who did law. The guy did not know how to do any master, but today he's a software engineer. Because one just important thing is you just need to have the ability to think, right? Simple. There's nothing too complex about it. When they give you, let's say if somebody gives you 50 naira and says, or maybe 100 naira and says you should go and buy something in so place. That ability to say, okay, if I follow this place, I'll reach here faster. But if I follow this place, it will take me a longer time. Maybe I'll meet jam traffic or something like that. That's just analytical thinking. And you decide to follow a better path. So having that ability to just think is one of the key responsibilities of a software engineer. And then security implementation is also another one, because you need a secure system. I have this, the last experience we had about this security implementation thing is, we had an application that we launched. People were using it, but all of a sudden my friend called me on the phone. He said, we are getting a lot of traffic and people are spending a lot of money on the app. And we checked. It was actually not people. It was just a single person who was doing that iteratively, and the person was taking money. So because there was a bug there that needed to be fixed. It wasn't secure enough. So there's need for that security implementation. It also comes hand in hand with testing and debugging. There has to be critical testing and debugging for you to make sure that your system can survive any kind of security attack or threat. So, and another general thing for all these responsibilities is that as you grow in your career, there's specializations, right? There is also that need for some of these things to be assigned to certain people. Maybe if you're working for a startup, it wouldn't be, you would do most of these things. But if you're not working for a startup, if you're working for a big company like maybe MTN, Jumia, and all these guys, you have some of these things like system architecture, design being handled by a certain team, documentation being handled by a certain team. But for the beginning of your career, you actually need to understand most of these things to move on as a software engineer. So the next one is software engineering roadmap. So basically, for everything you're learning in life, you actually go through the same stage: beginner, intermediate, and advanced, right? And we're going to go deep down on the three of them. So for the beginner parts, you as a software engineer, you learn the basics. You know how coding works, how to think around it, the data structures and all, right? Then HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is, I think this is like the basic language most people learn, right, at the start. If you're learning this coding first in school, maybe they will teach you basic, C sharp, C++, sorry, or maybe C, right? But if you're learning it mostly on your own, you would start with this, or even from coding schools. Then the next one is code editor. Code editor is just a software you use in coding. So if you wanted to edit like Microsoft Word documents or PDF, you would use, Word, right? Microsoft Word or Google Doc. The same goes for coding. If you're trying to code, there's a software for it. You use mostly VS Code, Sublime, Notepad, depending on what you're building. It can be Android Studio or and all, right? Because there are a lot of them depending on the kind of software you're trying to build. And there's version control. This is very, very important. So initially when I started coding, I saw version control as magic, right? Most people that have not used it, I'll go on and explain it in a vague way. So version control just helps you in a way that if you do something in your code base today, right, and after like a month, right, you want to go back to what your code looked like 3 weeks before, right, you can, right? The version control keeps track of your code version. It takes snapshots of what your code base looks like at every point, right, that you're working. So it seems like magic though, and it's very, 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 I don't think we would survive as developers without version control, because another thing that I know that it saves you the stress for is, let's say you're an engineer, you're working for a company and you people are deploying the next day. Then after coding, you're not using version control. You're on your way back home, you get robbed and your laptop gets stolen, right? You don't have access to the code again because it's supposed to be in the laptop. But with version control, if your laptop gets stolen today, you can buy a new one, pull down the code again, and continue from where you stop. So this version control, I'll say, is like the most important and life-saving tool or resource as a software engineer. So if you move to the intermediate stage, that's where you kind of start going from your learning, right, and learning to start like doing a lot of implementations and building solutions. So in beginner stage is mostly maybe 6 months. If you're fast, you can do that in 4 months. If you have speed, right, you can do it in 4 to 6 months. Then intermediate, you can do it in about a year, right? With your speed, you learn basically front ends, things like React. Now, these things are these ones. Now, I need to clarify something about this. They are not the thing that determines you being a programmer or a software engineer. These ones are like tools that enhance your development process. So you have already become a programmer from the beginning stage by learning like JavaScript. It's a scripting language. If you learn C, is also a compile language, but it's also like JavaScript if you're beginner, right? Now, if you come to this stage where you're learning things like React, Tailwind, Angular, Vue, Bootstrap, these things they are frameworks and libraries that make you work faster. So they are very, very simple to learn, very, very easy to learn. Once you've passed that stage of you're now an engineer, you're given a problem set, because what you're focusing on at the beginning stage is that someone can explain a problem for you and you can literally think through how to code it, right? Someone can tell you, hey, I want to design this. You can now say, I want to design a program that checks if somebody is coming back from the market and says bye, or checks if somebody is going and says come back, something like that, right? Once you can do that, you're already a programmer. Now here you learn these front-end tools for building front-end applications. Now, when it comes to the back-end, this back-end part, you also learn a programming language, right? Just like JavaScript or C, PHP, Node.js, Python, ASP, they are back-end languages, which helps you build what is happening behind the scene. So front-end languages are more of, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. These ones help you build what we see. If you visit Jumia, if you visit Konga, what you see in front is what front-end languages help you do. But back-end languages help you do when you register, when you order a product, it takes that product, disappears, you receive an email. Where does the email sending happen? How do you receive it? All these things happens in the backend. So they are powered by languages like PHP, Node, Python, ASP, right? Now, just like the front-end frameworks, backend also has frameworks where you're no more learning the programming language, you're now learning tools that enhances your development, right? So something like Express, Next, Django, and Laravel. These things are tools that enhances your development. Then we talk about databases. So databases basically, it helps you not lose your data. So some of you might log out of Facebook for a month, a year, 2 years. You come back, you still see that picture you took like when you were graduating from primary school, right? Because Facebook has that database where anything you give to it, they permanently keep it. And this is also another thing. Even when you click delete, most times they still tell you, hey, we have deleted it too, but we'll keep it for future sake, right? Most times they do soft delete instead of hard delete. Now, but databases basically help you store things permanently without having to lose them. And then we have API integration. So API is application programming interface. It's just basically that connection you provide, you connect between the view and what is at the back end, right? So when you're using a mobile app, right, when you register or when you click on like on a person's Instagram post, that like, if you come back tomorrow, that like is there. But how did did Instagram know that you liked that post? So the moment you liked it, there's already an API that it takes and sends to the API and says, hey, Somto just liked Amara's post. And then Instagram takes it through the API and implements it on the database, stores it there. So the API integration is where you connect your front end, you integrate to the API, and both work seamlessly. Then authentication and security. Authentication is something every single person here has encountered, right? If you're using OP before you send money, it tells you put your PIN, or it does face verification. At that point, it tells you put your PIN is authentication, right? And it helps them make sure that the person that is trying to send that money out is the valid owner of that account. And that's where security comes in, because you have to secure your users, in terms of being able to send out money and in terms of people being able to access the account. Another part of security is data exchange, right? So if you're sending your, let's say, your credit card data from something like OP or your BVN, you're sending it to them, right? OP sends it through a particular protocol. Let's just see it as a pipe, where it's one pipe is connected to your phone, another pipe is connected to OP database or server. When you send your BVN, they have to send it through that pipe, right? Now, most times OP has to secure that data transfer, right? So you hear things like SSL, right? So once they secure it, anything you're sending through that pipe is encrypted. So somebody can tap into it, but the person will grab the data, the person will not be able to make use of that data because it's secure, it's encrypted. Now, in the intermediate phase, again, what you're going to really be focused on is building projects, right? Because here is where you want to start showcasing, because at this point, you're also supposed to start applying for jobs with the skills you've already gotten. And one of the critical parts of application is that employers will always want to know what you have built, right? And what you have built helps you a lot. It saves you also it kind of clarifies for the employer that you know what you're doing, because you can say, I'm writing this, I'm writing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm building PHP, this one. But if you could say, okay, I've learned this, I've learned that, I've learned this, and that's what I've been able to use to build a health management system. Perfect. The person now knows that, okay, you have evidence for what you've learned, right? So something like a health management system, e-commerce, a banking system, personal blogs. These are perfect applications that when you build them, you don't need so much questioning for someone to know that you know what you've learned, like you know it to the core. So at the intermediate level, you should have certain projects you've built. And I love to tell people, when you're learning, right, don't wait till you finish learning before you can start building, right? At least try to build in the process of learning, right? So let's say you're learning something, set a goal that I want to build this thing. Then as you're learning, every time you learn a new thing, it clicks in your mind that, oh, this thing I learned would be used to build something like this, right? So let's say you want to build a Facebook login page, for example. When you're learning HTML and they teach you about form, you now click to your mind, hey, I need to pay attention to this form part too, because I need it to achieve the login page that I'm trying to do. So it gives you that enthusiasm and it keeps that fire burning as you're learning, the software engineering stuff. Now, another part is the advanced. So this is where you probably are 2 years into it or a year and a half. 3 years, depending on how fast. I've seen people do this in a year and a half, right? But it needs speed, it needs focus, it needs dedication. You can do it in 2 years, dependent, right? 3, 4. So, but what you cover here basically is you understanding, more of system design, right? So you have to understand like system architecture, a way to model an entire system, looking at how each part interacts with each other, right? So that's just basically what system design covers. And data structures and algorithm. So in coding, even when you're doing interview tests, you're going to face some of these data structure and algorithm parts, where you're going to be given a particular algorithm question and you're going to be told to solve it within a space of time. Probably at the same time you're sweating, you're trying to understand what they gave you, and time is running now, you're seeing the seconds go down. So learning this at this stage is also very important. Understanding different models of data structure, like searching algorithms, querying algorithms and all, right? And data structures like mapping, functions, arrays and all, right? So having this concept, because when you're given a question, let's say you're given a question, you should write a program that checks if 100, given a data, it checks if 100 people are male or female. You have to know a certain data structure to know how to store those data and check those things, right? So that's where this data structure algorithm comes in. Now, database optimization is also an advanced level skill you need to have, because if you're looking at querying the database, something like Jumia, we saw this back in I think it's 2015 or so. Yeah, I think 2015 or 2016 Black Market Friday for Jumia, when they did their black markets and their site was like going down, like back to back every time, because people, I feel like at that point, they had a lot of traffic, and also at that point, if you're doing a lot of reading from database and it's not optimized, you would have so many things at the same time reading from your database, and it will make your system very slow, because database is just like, how will I put it? Like it's just like a human being. It's, it processes things one step at a time, right? So you give it instruction, it gives you back something. But if you have millions of people giving it instruction at the same time, it will now say, hey, you people should chill, let me give it out one step at a time. So you optimizing it using things like indexes, key managements like foreign keys, private keys and all, makes it a lot easier for, data to be found within the database when there's a query. So when you query, because it's just like, I'll give you an example of a simple example of indexes. Let's say you have 100 people in this room, right? And all of them are by name Sumto, right? And you want to find a particular Sumto. It could be easy to find me by saying, I'm looking for Sumto with the BVN number of 44445555, right? So you could easily find me with that BVN number. So indexing is just being able to like store data and use a particular key to find it easily when you're trying to load it up. Now, performance optimization is another one, right? How you optimize your code to perform using like caching and queuing and all, right? So there's a lot of like ways to optimize. And you could see this in Jumia as well. I keep using Jumia as an example. You can see this in Jumia as well, where if you load up Jumia, if you click a product and load up Jumia, you see that you have index.html at the end, because Jumia kind of catches every page that people view. So when somebody views it again, I don't think they load it up from the database. They kind of pick that the data of that product from a cache and create that web page for the user. So it makes it faster because you don't have to do any database thing, and it makes it very optimized. So testing and debugging is another one, and we talked about that in the previous slide, where you just have to test, you have to set up. And a key part of this testing is also a core notification system. So you in the process of also testing debugging, right, I would also say integrating like a notification system when something critical happens. So because software engineers are human beings, they sleep, right? Let's say something critical happens within the system. You should be like notified, receive an email or something telling you that, hey, something happened like this. So you guys can quickly rush and go and fix it, right? So, but these things are arranged by how critical they are. Now, DevOps is another thing on its own, where you're just trying to, it's more like development and operation, where you're kind of, managing deployment, managing like CI/CD. So I'll give you an example, not to sound too technical in this part. So your DevOps basically helps you create a pipeline, right? Where if somebody is doing something, right, once the person finish what he's doing on his laptop and takes the code online, the code will easily, the pipeline would easily test the code, run tests on the code, deploy the code to a testing environment where people could test. And then when it's merged, it goes to like what users can see from their phone and all. So nobody is like manually uploading file or doing anything manually. The DevOps system just basically structures that for you. Then cloud and distributed system. So one amazing thing about cloud is that it saves companies from like really having to manage their own server themselves, right? In-house, right? You could store your server in the cloud. Let's say you're using AWS, Amazon Web Services. If you store it anywhere, right, let's say on the cloud, Amazon has availability zones, right, where they can, and they have like different distributed zones where if you store it one place, even if that place burns down, your data is going to still be, somewhere else, because they kind of clone it, right? And your data can be in different places at the same time. So it's a lot secure that when one place goes down, because let's assume the Amazon data center is in Nigeria, for example, or in Port Harcourt, and there's a protest that happens, and the Port Harcourt youth are angry with Amazon. They will now go to Amazon data center and scatter everything and burn that place down, right? Because the data center people have stored their data there. If Amazon only stored those companies' data there, everybody has lost their data. But Amazon has a way of like, distributing these data in a way that, it is in multiple places at the same time. So one going down doesn't affect the other. But one thing about cloud services that I don't know at this point is a very big challenge for African builders, because I have a company, is they are very expensive most of the time, because we make money most times as businesses in Nigeria in Naira, but these cloud services will charge you in dollars, right? So it can be very, very expensive as you grow. But another amazing thing about it is that you can grow from 100 million users to 1 billion users overnight, and it would scale immediately for you. Like it's not going to just stay there and people will not, you have a downtime. You can set up in a way that as people are coming, as traffic is growing, it scales for that traffic. It creates multiple processes that handles those traffic. You can even set it up in a way in collaboration with DevOps, in a way that when traffic comes, if there's a spike, traffic comes, it scales. If the spike goes up, it goes down again. So then specialization is the key most important part in software development or software engineering, because it's tricky as well, Sha, because you kind of find it very, very hard to decide which path to go. If I asked anybody now, where do you want to specialize? Is it AI? Is it blockchain? Is it game development? All of them every day wake up to hear news where they are making billions and people are getting jobs that are paying them big money in different parts of this. So it's also a challenge for engineers as well to specialize, because you could be learning you could be learning AI stuff now, and your friend gets a job as a game developer and they're paying the person big money. If you're not careful, you'll be tempted to leave your AI and start running to learn game development. So specialization, I will give one key advice on this. When it comes to specialization, really learn how to, lock away from what the media is projecting, right? Because media always pushes where the money goes, right? At that instant. It could be something that happens for a while. It could be something that happens for a long time, right? Always look at the key solutions, that aspect you're going to solve, right? Is this something that in the next 10, 15, 20 years, people will keep a solving problem in that particular niche, right? And don't fall for the trend, right? Don't follow the trend of this is new, let's go into it. Look at what solutions are there solved. If I see someone who says, I want to go into machine learning and AI, right? Another thing you have to consider is where you stay, is there a market for what you're trying to learn, right? If you're going into machine learning and AI, there's not so much market for that in Nigeria, right? Unless you want to learn the skill and start looking for companies to employ you outside. Nigerian AI market, we don't have so many companies, building products around that. We have so many companies using built products, but we don't have many companies building products around that. So you have to always have that in mind. If you're going into like blockchain, Nigeria is like one of the second largest crypto users, right? Nigerian crypto users about 30 million or so, right? So it's a market. There's a lot of companies in Nigeria building things around blockchain. So it's a big market for Nigeria. And a lot of companies are employing in the blockchain space. Something like web development is another big market in Nigeria because we have a lot of people. Something like mobile is another big market in Nigeria. So you have to, game development, I wouldn't say so much because we have very few game companies in Nigeria. So you have to always target it based on where you are and the opportunities and the markets that are there. So I think I would stop here. Yeah. Thank you.
Wow, that is so amazing. Ma, you're muted though. I can't hear you.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to share my slideshow. I can see. I'm
I
sorry.
can see some people raising up, but we are not taking questions now. So, like I said in the beginning, as you're just following through, if you have any questions, you can write them maybe in the chat box or write them down somewhere. There's a time dedicated to just answering your questions, right? So, let's hear from our second speaker. Oh, go ahead.
I'm coming, please. Okay. So what I'll be talking about is different career paths in software engineering. There are a lot of career paths in software engineering, a lot of them. But for the purpose of this webinar, we will just take these three, which is front-end development, back-end development, and full-stack development. Good thing is that some touched upon what front-end and what back-end is all about. Now, what is front-end? For you to become a front-end developer, what does it mean? Front-end is basically what you see. For me, I like using social media apps as an example because in this time and age, all of us have Instagram, all of us have Facebook. So now when you go to your Instagram app, you want to log in, all that, asking you for your username, for your password. This is what the user, I'm the user now, this is what I see. That is front-end development. So front-end development is all about the user interface and the user experience. Now, as a front-end developer, I want to become a front-end developer. What do I have in mind? I am thinking of building a software that when users look at it, they'll be like, they will smile. You don't want to build an app when users look at it, they'll be like, they will squeeze their face, right? So now you're now thinking user interface. You're now thinking how to interact with, the people that will use this app. You're now thinking how to make their experience to be very good for them. You don't want to build an app that when someone comes and click on the button, I want to log in, I'll be clicking on the button 3-4 times and I cannot, log in. So basically, a front-end developer is that person, is that software developer or that person who makes sure that the user interface, the user experience is good, is seamless, is, you have to think of how to, because front end is what the user sees before we even talk of back end. Now, for instance, when you now click on a button, I want to log into an app, I now click on a button, okay, it will have to bring me to, like I said, I'll use Instagram for an example. When I click on that login, I'm expecting it to take me to my timeline. That's what it's called, where you see people's pictures. So now, when you click on that button, so many things happen in the background. It will first of all take your username or your email, go to the database, query it to check if that registration detail is, or that login detail is correct, and it will now bring you back to your timeline. The process of all that logic and everything that happens in the background is being handled by a back-end developer, right? So you see, if you want to become a software developer, you can decide to become any of these. You can decide to say, and for you to choose a career path in any of these, it depends on your interest, what you love doing. If you're the kind of person that likes, you like, visuals, front-end dev is for you. But if you're the kind of person that, for someone like me, you like doing I don't know how to, because I don't want any front-end dev here to feel bad, like doing that hard stuff, like, thinking of the foundation of, I call back-end development like the foundation of an app. Because if you want to build a house, right? That house, what you have to do first is you look for an architect. The architect will draw the architecture of that house, how the foundation and everything will look like. Basically, it's back-end people that always, do stuff like that. They will now lay a foundation, they will now start building the house, and they will now paint the house. So back-end developers look at the database, the server size of things, writing APIs. Now, for a full stack developer, you have the knowledge of both. You have expertise in front end and you have expertise in back end. I know many people like, which one is best for me? Now, I will tell you, full stack development is the way forward. Why? Because the reason why you want to become a software engineer, let's be honest, all this English you are blowing. Yes, we want to make money. We want to get a job. We want to, get something good for ourselves. Apart from all the research we've done, apart from all, our interests and everything, we want to have a career path where we have that opportunity to get a job. Now, if you look at the job opportunities out there now, most companies, most organizations are looking for software engineers who have both knowledge, of both back end and front end. So basically, but if you really, really want to specialize in you don't want to become a full stack dev or back end, for instance, if you choose front end, I would say, if you're doing front end, just make sure that you have knowledge of what is happening in back end. Because if you're just a front end dev, it will be actually difficult for you to build a full-fledged application. But if you're a back end developer, you can, build your foundation and everything of your software. and download a template and now plug into your, it's easier to work around with front end than back end. So I would just leave it there. Now, as a front end developer, what should you focus on? I've said it before. You're looking at the user interface. You're looking at the user experience of the people that want to use your software. Like I always say, for you to be a software engineer, you're not just thinking about yourself. You are thinking about the people who will use that application you're building. Because I can build an app and put it in my pocket. I don't care. But you want to build an app that people will use, and when they use that application, it would, they will want to continue using it. They don't want to use that application and they don't want, like, they don't, how will I put it? They don't want to, like, when I use your app for the first time, I'm like, okay, I don't want to use this app again. So you have to start thinking of your users. When you think of your users and how they will experience this software, that is only when you start building an application that is maintainable, sustainable, and will last for a lifetime. Now, you can see most of the social media we have, Facebook, Instagram, a lot of them, they are there. Now I want to, for instance, we have Twitter and we have Threads. When Threads came out, it was a big thing. Everybody just jumped on it. But after some time, people realized that they were enjoying Twitter more than Threads, right? So because they put in the work on Twitter, X, this is now called X, right? Because they put in so much work on X to make sure that the user experience is interesting, I feel that is the reason why people use X more than Threads. Even though Threads, Zuckerberg and his people, they try copying that what we have on Twitter, but you can still compare both. Now, like I said, the back-end developer, you focus on making sure that whatever software you're building, it's actually sustainable. You make sure that the database is solid. That when you build, like when you design a database, the database that is not like, or after designing your database on the server side, it's not an app that when I come and click on any button, I'll be seeing error 4. There are so many websites and applications like that. When you click on any button, you see error 500, error 404. People would not want to use that application. So now the primary skills of a front-end dev, is that you should know your HTML, you should know your CSS, you should know your JavaScript. Now, one major mistake most people make is that, you see, they leave these primary skills, so they don't want to learn it. They will jump into and start learning framework. Like when Somto went through that intermediate, advanced, like beginner, you have to learn these basics. HTML basically helps you to structure your user interface. Like we are seeing these things now. We have a container here. We have small container. It's just to help you structure your web page. CSS helps you add color to that web page. Then with JavaScript, we now have events. Right, with JavaScript, you can now add some things like slider, and a whole lot of, just create events in your web page, and or maybe navigate to one page or the other. Add events like I said, slider and others. So as a back-end developer, any core programming languages. Now, I want you to understand there's a difference between programming language and scripting language. Scripting, we have JavaScript, we have, I think, Python, yes. But programming languages, and the difference between both of them is that scripting, I don't know how to put it, it doesn't compile before you run. Like sometimes when you're typing a scripting language, you don't see that error or the issue with it unless you run it. But with most programming language, as you're typing, it compiles before you see the issue with it before it runs down. You have to know. And please, while you're learning any of this language, I would just advise, start with one. You don't need to know all of them. We have C#, we have Java. Now with Node that is a framework, right, for writing back-end JavaScript. And I really love what they did with Node, because many people, find I will call it object-oriented language, quite difficult. So Node makes life a little bit easier for most developers. Now, you have to, as a back-end developer, like Somto said, you are building APIs, right? So you're building those APIs that the front-end person will call. And basically, what is an API? An application programming interface. So whatever, like now, the major thing you do in software is either you're saving data into the database where you're storing it, or you're getting out data. You even agree with me that when you log into an app, maybe you're filling out a form, they'll ask you register. So all those things all those data you put, is saving into a database. And it is an API a back-end developer has written, collects all those data, performs some business logic, and just dumps it into the database. Now, so you should have these skills. The key tools you can use for frameworks for front end, we have React, we have Vue, we have for .NET, we have Blazor, we have Angular. There is a whole lot of them. So you can pick up any of these skills, one of them, learn and run with it. For back end, you should know, if you're a back end developer, you don't understand the concept of database, I don't think I will categorize you as one. So you should understand what database is all about, how to normalize the data, and just acquire that skill. So for a full stack, you should combine those skills. I've said before, what are my responsibilities as a front-end developer? Design, optimize web types, and the layout styles. Now, back-end, you build, you maintain the server side of an entire system. So the output I want to see the visuals, how my website or my software interact with my users. Now, but for the back-end person, is all about data processing. Okay, now for each API, some people talked about security too, but for each API you're building, you have to find a way to secure it. Because if it's not properly secured, an outsider or anybody can, get into your database and mess things up with your entire application, and you don't want that. So as a front-end developer, now, one of the major things that most companies look out for, apart from your technical skills, is your ability to work in a cross-functional team. Because I believe that one of the basic reasons why we are here is for, when you've acquired this skill, it's for us to be able to get a job or get something doing. Now, most front-end people you work with, UI UX designers, or I call them product designer. But if you actually want to become a front-end dev, I will advise you also have that skill of a product designer too. It's very, very important so that you can actually sit down and map out how the layout of your product will look like. After mapping it out, you can now start designing it using any of these HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or any of this framework that we've listed here. So basically, the front-end person work with the product designer, but in the real life world, both back-end, both front-end, they work, both back-end dev and front-end dev, they work together. For me now, I'm a full-stack developer, and in my office, I work with UI UX people, I work with product designers, I work with QA, I work with I might not remember all of them. I work with project managers and scrum master. I work with business analysts. So you should know how to interact with all of these people. You should know how to collaborate with them. Have it in mind that these people are not technical people. Sometimes they don't, understand what you're doing. It is now your duty as either a front end, as a software engineer, to kind of translate these technical jargons you've written into a non-technical jargon so that they can, sorry, not jargon, into something, friendly so that they can understand you. So this is just basically the career path in tech. So now I want to go into a segment. Now, the reason why I brought out this segment is because sometime in June to August, I was actively searching for a job. Let me tell you, as a tech talent, one of the most depressing stage of your life if you're looking for a job and you keep getting unfortunately. Sometimes you would think there's this thing called I can't remember. Sometimes you would think
Imposter syndrome.
God bless you, Onyinye, imposter syndrome. Sometimes you will think you are not good enough. Sometimes you will think you're terrible. Sometimes so many things will be going through your head. So this period, I learned a lot from this process. And I said it will be good to share this, this process the things I learned from this experience with my community people. Now, before you write a CV, there's something I want you to have in mind. You are not the only one looking for that job. Thierry say, have you ever gone to LinkedIn and they put out a job advert before? Before 24 hours, you'll be seeing 1,000 applicants. You'll be asking yourself, is it that people are not sleeping, or that because there are so many people graduating from boot camp, people are leaving boot camps, people are leaving computer, some don't all say boot camp, so he will tell you how many people that graduate every. You're not the only one. And if you think you're good, my sister, wait, my brother, calm down. You will see people you will see people that if you look at their CV, you will look at your own and start crying. So before you apply, before you even start drafting your CV, know that you are not the only one. No, you people are many. So and the people reviewing your CV, they don't know you. So your CV is a way you can sell yourself. You have to market it. In fact, you have to start singing all your praises with your CV. I did not say you should lie, but you have to sell yourself in a way that when you people are 50 applicants and I pick your CV and look at it, I'll say, oh Lord, this is your CV. Very interesting. So you should have that in mind before you even think of, crafting out your CV. Now, looking at the common mistakes people make in their CV. People, I've looked at some CVs. I got up to 18 CVs that I reviewed. I realized that, in your CV, I would share my personal CV. The reason why I'm sharing my personal CV is because I've looked at so many CV and I realized that so many of us, we need to do, I'm trying to do my window. Okay, this is what my CV looks like. Now, I'm coming. Trust me, if I show you the best version of my CV, to me, I felt that CV was up here, with my experiences and everything. But when recruiters started, turning it down, I realized that I had a whole lot of, things to do. Now, the reason why I actually had to, I have 12 years of experience actually. But at a point, I had to bring it down because I realized that the roles they were even matching me with. Sometimes if they match me with a role, because they've seen 12 years of experience, they are matching me with roles like team lead, which me in my innermost heart, I knew I wasn't really up to that. Now, the first mistake people make in their CV is that, you see this professional summary, software engineer, they'll be like, I am an exceptional high software engineer. I have analytical thinking and problem solving. I can think analytically and solve problems, full stop. You've not told me anything. Now, your professional career summary, once I read it, even before looking at your skill set, I should be able to tell who you are, what you're doing, your level, technical skill. I will speak it in Igbo. What they call raka. It is like, especially in tech, You should be all the Quora, I call it, let me speak it, like, I don't know, it's like you're telling somebody, this is what I'm doing, So be able to, I don't know who you are, you should be able to sell yourself and tell me to a certain level who you are and what you do. 2 sentences, 3 sentences is not enough. Now, that is one mistake most of us make when we are writing our CVs. Now, secondly, most of us, you see this place, we list our skills. Some of us just do it to be scattered, There's something with HRO people. These people, so most of them are very organized people. And I don't believe in this thing they call one-page CV, pack everything into one page. If you're not, even if you don't have that much experience, you should be able to express yourself very well in your CV. So one page shouldn't be enough for you to sell yourself. I know some people will say, don't put your picture. The way I live, where I stay, I want you to see my picture and see that I'm an African. So if you don't hire immigrants, disqualify me from day one. That is why I have my picture on my CV. Apart from that, normally I don't have my pictures on my CV, but I don't want to work for a company that is not immigrant friendly. So I just put my picture there. If your company don't hire Africa, okay, disqualify me from there so that me and you will not be going back and forth. So you will know who I am from looking at my CV. And that is why I have my picture there too. It is not a must, you must put your picture in your CV, please. I just had my personal reasons for putting it there. So there are some of my CVs that I don't have my picture. Now, secondly, you should know that you should be able to tailor your CV to the job description that you're looking for. That was the biggest mistake I made. If you see the best version of my CV, you won't know if I'm an ASP.NET developer, or if I'm a Java developer, or if I write Node.js. You will be confused. Now, it was a recruiter that had to tell me, Uloma, your CV is all over the place. We don't even know what you're doing. Are you .NET? You're applying for .NET, but some of your experience, you have Java, this, that is all over the place. So if you're applying for a role as a PHP/Laravel developer, let your CV speak PHP from beginning to the end. If you're applying for a mobile developer, let your CV speak mobile app from beginning to the end. Because the people that will be reviewing your CV, there are other people who, this is, you can apply this principle to, even if you're not a software engineer. If you're applying for jobs like IT support, I shouldn't come to your CV and be seeing the NYSC you did where you are teaching and frying akara. What is my business? How is it related to what we are talking about? I shouldn't come and be seeing your marital status. It's nobody's business if you're married or not. I shouldn't come and be seeing your hobbies. How is that? What your CV should be saying to that, it should be speaking the language of that job that you're looking for. So you have to list out, kind of organize, the CV in a way that when they look at your skills, they should know, programming language you write, this is just this CV now is for only micro. If I apply anything .NET, if I'm applying anything Java, I have a separate CV for it. If I'm applying any role for Node, because I write all this language, I have separate CV for it. And when you see it, they are telling you what I do. So in my career summary, I'm able to tell you, okay, I write object-oriented programming language. I'm proficient in writing solid design. I'm telling you what I do. I've not even started telling you that I'm an analytical thinker, all those things. For me, every software engineer should know how to think and know how to solve problems, because the first role of a software engineer is to solve problems. So I already know you know how to solve problems. What else? Now, in addition to that, if you have small DevOps skills, you should add it here. Okay, I have experience in configuring CI/CD pipeline. Some people will say, let your career summary be so small, summarized. I'm not saying you should write biology note, but you should write something that when people see, they will know that you're serious about this job. That's one. That's, another mistake. So secondly, another mistake I feel people make now is that your job responsibility that you're writing here does not match to what you've written in your professional summary. You've written here that you're an ASP.NET engineer and all that. But when I'm coming to your experience, I'm seeing you're saying, I'm a teacher, I've taught, or a programming, or I'm a customer care person. They don't relate. So if you have any job experience that doesn't even match, please, whatever role you're applying for, is either you switch. For instance, if you've taught, some programming language in school, you can present it in such a way that you tell them in your CV that, okay, you said you have experience as a PHP developer. Now, as an instructor, you can now tell them, yes, I've taught students PHP and Laravel. I've also supported students in building so application. Do you understand? So now, your responsibility that you're listing here is matching this thing, because some of these recruiters will come back and say, oh no, your responsibility you've written here does not really sell what you've written. You said you've configured CI/CD pipeline, but we've looked at the responsibilities. You're not even seeing anything that has to do with CI/CD pipeline here. That is why this company rejected your CV. So you said you have that experience in your professional summary, but in your responsibilities, you are not seeing where the company you did it for. So now you have to make sure that whatever responsibility you're writing here matches with your professional summary. Now, when you've done your experience, for me, I live in the UK, and honestly, education is the least of their problem. That was how I even added it down. That was how it's here. So they don't care. Whatever you've achieved, their own is, can you build the application? So some of them, some companies, some very big companies look out for that. But since after 2015, when I submitted my BSc and NYSC certificates at OASI, since then I've worked to a UK company. I have not used my certificate again. They just want to know what I can do as a software engineer. So, you can put your education, but that skill set really matters a lot. Here you can put websites and portfolio, and whatever links you're putting here, please make sure that when they access it. So, put all those things. If you have another thing you can also do, if you have projects that you feel you've worked on, you want to add, you can also add them to your CV. Talk about what the project is all about, and give it to them. Honestly, there are some people who will see this CV and still criticize it. Even as I was looking at it, preparing for this webinar, there are so many things I saw here that doesn't really go down well with me. But this can just be like a starting point that can help you, put out a good, at least a CV that is okay. Now, there's another thing most organizations look out for. We call it ATS. Now, if you agree with me that I'll stop sharing this for now. I want to show you how ATS works. Sorry. So now that's what we call ATS. ATS is applicant tracking system. Now, there are big organizations that honestly, they don't have time to start reviewing your CV one after the other. They don't even have that energy at all, because they have like 1,000 CVs to look at. So you don't expect them to start picking all those CVs one by one. So they use applicant tracking system. And if your CV is actually not speaking the language of that job description, you will just be getting, unfortunately. Once you submit it, for 30 minutes, you say unfortunately, because your CV has already failed their ATS. At least your ATS score for every job you have to apply, the ATS score has to get up to at least 50, 60, 70%, or you should get to a certain level. Now, the good reason why now, if you want to apply for any job, run it on that ATS. If it is low, a good ATS will suggest the things you can do to improve that CV. So you keep improving that CV for that particular job. As you're improving it, if you get it to like 60, 70%, you can go ahead and submit that CV. So I know that okay. Come in, let me share this. So now the one I'm sharing is what was it called? iJob Scanner. So you can just quickly go to Google, look for ATS scanning resume, just type anything to look for applicant tracking software. And when you do that, I don't know why. What are you seeing? Are you people still seeing the this ATS?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Yes, I was a bit confused. If you now, okay, now, I just opened a job description for a random software developer. So now, the first thing I will do here, if you go to jobscan.co, that was what I used most times when I was looking for a job. So I will upload my CV. CV review. Now it will analyze my CV for me. The thing I will have to copy the job description that I want to apply for and paste it here. Then it will now scan it and give me my ATS score. So I will just go that you can go to any the job description I'm copying is from Read, and I'll just just come in. Because we know that for every job description, for most adverts, they'll tell you their requirements, their responsibilities, and all that. So I will just pick up this. I don't think I need to copy these benefits. I'll just stop at this requirement. This is just sample. You can, try it out. And this job scan is paid, like this one is the free version, so it doesn't even show you. So you can see the job description here, tell you proficiency in C#, good database skills and all that, excellent communication, and that. So you click on scan. Let's see. It will, I need to log in with my Google account. So because I did not log in, I will have to, go back to home and repeat that process again. Scan your resume. I will upload my CV again. So I will paste this job description and scan. I just hope I've not. So you see, it's still 52%. So I still, for this particular job description, I still have a lot of work to do. So here, it will now start telling me there are some missing information that they could not find my address. Maybe it's because of the way I structured the CV. So sometimes the way you even structure your CV and your CV format and everything can affect it, right? Now they'll be like incorrect job description, updates required educational level. So now you will look at all these things. You will now start from the report they've given you here. You will now start tweaking your CV, and make sure that, and this is not the paid version. If you see the paid version, you understand it is more detailed. The report they write for you is more detailed. If you use the paid version for this, I have unsubscribed because, when I got a job, I had to stop using, I unsubscribed, because there's no need paying for it again. So if you see the detailed, report of this, is actually very interesting. So it will tell you, ways that you can optimize your CV to match that job description. So this is, and I realized that, to be honest, it was actually during my time of searching for job, it was somebody that told me, what is your ATS score? I'm not like, I've not checked. The person say, please try and upgrade your ATS score to be at least 60 and above. So you have to put all these things in place for you to make sure that your CV is good enough. If not, in fact, I talk to people, if you're applying for jobs on LinkedIn, make sure that ATS score is at least up to 70 or even 80, so that you will stand a chance for them to get back to you. And the good thing, the most painful thing about this is that your skill set might be very high, very dope, you might be very good, but your CV is not conveying that message very well. So we don't have time, so I'll just stop here for this about talking about 8 years. So now another thing I want to talk about is interview tips. Now, one one major challenge people have with interviews is that most people, especially beginners, even advanced people, we don't really understand the interview process. Now, if you're lucky enough, you've passed through that, they've accepted your CV. The next phase is that you face a technical test for most software engineers, unless your CV is so convincing enough that the company, or maybe you came highly recommended, you might not, they can just go straight to the interview. You will not go through technical tests because they already know the person that recommended you, you're good. But as a beginner, the first phase is either technical test, which could be coding challenge, like Sonto talked about it could be maybe algorithm, or they'll ask you question about data types. And sometimes they give you time, maybe 30 minutes, 1 hour, and there's a lot of place you can. The tip I can give you here is practice. Keep practicing. Me, Uloma, I don't like coding challenge. I will not lie to you people, but before I go into any coding challenge, I practice as much as possible. I try to, go to HackerRank, Codability, all those stuff and practice. Now, another type of challenge they can give is take-home test or technical, test to take home. That one, I really like it a lot because you have time to build a solution. Please don't think you know everything. Consult people, consult your friends, consult your colleagues, tell them, look at it, because you have to, like I said, you're not the only one. So you have to build that application, for them so that they can trust you. Use the best design pattern, do the right thing, follow the best practice. There's a whole lot of them. Now, once you've scaled through that technical test, if you pass, they will invite you for one-on-one interview. Now, most people that invite you for one-on-one interview, they want to know if you're the one that did that technical test yourself. Some people, their technical test is live. The interviewers will be there, you'll be doing the test, right? But most good companies will tell you, take it home, because they know that you need time to build this application. At least they just want to check how good we are with writing code. Now, once you come for interview, there are two things majorly they are looking at for interview: your technical skills and your soft skills. Your technical skills is how good you are in coding. Okay, you've demonstrated that one. So you have to convince them beyond reasonable that you are the one that did that technical test. They have to know you are the one. So if it is to carry presentation slide and go there and demonstrate anything, to be honest, the last one-on-one interview I went for, I prepared slides. I went there, I had to demonstrate to them and show them, these are the architectures I use, these are the design patterns I use. Even before I finished presenting, after I finished presenting the slide, they didn't have much question to ask me again. I owned the interview myself. I kind of gave them, like, after the presentation, they were like, okay, they just started asking me things about software, because technically, maybe they have lots of questions to ask me that I don't even know. Already, initiated that. I've already guided the way the interview would go. They were so they start asking me soft skills. Soft skills, they want to know, even as a software engineer, you're able to work with people. You're not that kind of software engineer that is very arrogant. If they tell you what to do, you start insulting them. You're not that software engineer when QA people tell you, oh, these things you've done is not good, can you go back and look at them? You start telling them, me, I know you, what I did, you know who I am. No, they want to make sure that in terms of communication, in terms of collaborating, you're good. So you have to sell yourself. Your technical skill is enough, your soft skill merged together. So yes, so the next thing we are going to do is CV reviews. So I will review one CV, Somto will review another CV, and we would you can now ask your question. I actually brought out a CV I would like to review. So we got like at least up to 18 CVs. Now, honestly, oh, this particular lady here, okay, I'm going to review her CV because I've seen her here. She has been joining and leaving. So I have Emmanuel here and I have Ayo. So I'll do this just quickly, 2 minutes, I'm done. Now, I will share, stop presenting, I will present this. Now, this CV is a very interesting one. Do you understand? But the problem I have with this CV is that the owner of this CV did not sell himself very well. Now, I had to start clicking on this link to, to discover what this person has done. I realized that the person has done a lot. Like I said, your profile, your career summary, whatever should tell your story to a certain level. Now, this CV, I don't know how many years of experience you have. So I have to start calculating, check this, check that. So you should just tell me, okay, I have 2, 3, 4 years of experience. That is one thing I spotted out. Now, your professional summary, I don't know, because from your skills, I can say you do Flutter, which is for mobile. You're a Python person, you're a JavaScript, you write Node, plain JavaScript, SQL. That is language for the use for Flutter. So you're a mobile engineer and you also a web app. You build web apps, you build mobile apps. Your professional summary should tell me that you have this number of years in building mobile apps. But like when I read it, I should know what you do. Now, your experience. Another problem I have with this, yes, you put numbers and tell me API and all that. So I can see Python here. So that tells me you're talking about Django. You use Django framework. So I feel this should be more detailed. You've published 3 apps on Google Play Store. Fantastic. I even feel you should put it in your career. So like it should be here where you're shouting, these are the things I've done. You built a cross-platform apps. Fine, which is good. I think this responsibility to a certain, if you ask me to score it, I might score it 60 over 100, because I think you should also, you talked about Python here, but which frameworks did you use here? So here you say software developer, but what I'm seeing here, you worked as a mobile app developer. Now, another thing some people corrected me, I learned in the process that if you're putting your role here, you should be, if you're a full stack developer, put it there, full stack. If it is mobile, put it there. If it is front end, let them know. If it's an engineering lead, do you understand? Try and communicate that is very important. Now, this skill set, for me, I feel is all over the place. Skills are always good for you to arrange it, because number one, most of the people that even look at your CV at first, they are not technical people. They are admin people, all these human resource people. So if you can organize them and tell them programming language, this, web technologies, this, just organize it a little bit so that when they look at it, it will, they can, you can communicate very well with them. Now, I started looking at the apps, I'm patient enough because I really want to review this CV. Some people will not even have that patience. Once they look at this, they'll be like, the person's experience is not there. I realized that some of the apps you built here, that you've integrated into payment platform, it's not on your CV. I had to use one of your, I think it's Pet Store. I had to play around it. If that person is here, you will see that I even registered this morning, try to make payment. You have experience of integrating into third-party application. I can't find it on your CV. You've done a lot. You're not selling yourself. Do you understand? So some people will not have that patience to start clicking on this link and start testing the things you have done to know how far you've gone. It is your CV that will tell them your story. So if you're not telling that story, they will toss it one side. Now, as a software instructor, you just wrote here, you helped improve student satisfaction and you boosted retention and progression rate. How does that add to the role you're fighting for? These people are looking for people that can build app for them. You're telling them that you are improving, meaning that when you taught them well and you improved their satisfaction. Apart from that, what else did you do there that has to do with software development? You would have told them, okay, I organized a team, I led the team that we build a hospital management system using this framework and that. You have to tell them that, apart from teaching students, in that company, I also help them, if they have an existing solution, you can say you help them, improve that software, because you're applying as a software engineer. You're not applying as a teacher. You're not applying as an instructor. So even as an instructor, you should be able to tell them that you went be more than just teaching, that you did more than just teaching. You also developed solution for them, because that is what they want to hear. Now, as a software engineer too here, this is here, here I believe that you built with back end, because I can see APIs here. Now, I don't know the technology you used here. Now, if I'm hiring, I've seen you have of Node here, but if I want to hire a back-end developer that uses Node, and I see somebody who everything they are speaking here is Node, for 3 years they've been writing only Node, it is more convincing to me to hire that person that is all over the place. So I can tell all this CV. If you're applying for this one, I can say is a generic CV. You can, you just have it. But if you want to apply a job that has to do with Python and this Django framework, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well, please, you have to, make sure that even if you leave this skill set, everything here, they know that you have that skill set. But your career summary, your responsibilities in your field should talk about, you should speak the language of that job description. Because if you look at most job description, if they're hiring a Node, like they want to hire an ASP.NET developer, they won't tell you you have to be proficient in Java, Node. See, no. They are looking for something. So you have to convince them that thing you're looking for, you have it for 3 years, you've been doing only that thing, and it's inside your blood. That is how they will look at you. So if you pass through that ATS, and that is why ATS, what it looks like, because most of them, they bring out keywords and, put it in their ATS scanner. All those keywords they are looking out for, they put it in their ATS scanner. That ATS scanner have to scan for all those keywords to be sure that your CV has it and your CV pass. So this is a nice, I picked this CV up because it's for a software engineer, and I feel the person has really done a lot, but this CV is not convincing enough. Imagine you're struggling for roles with people that, the competition is too much, so your CV has to do a lot. Now, secondly, I have this, I don't know if this Ayo is here because I see her join and leave, but I have to, I really like reviewing CVs of people who are just starting up their career in tech, because honestly, as a beginner, it's very, very difficult. For you to even get an intern role is hard. So now, this CV, I can see there's no professional summary. Even if your professional summary is what you learned in the university, you learned HTML, you can tell me that. And you should be able to tell me that even though you're applying as an intern role, your professional summary should tell me that you are ready to adapt. You are fast, you learn fast, and you're ready to adapt to any technology. Do you understand? You should sell you, because yes, you're coming in as an intern, or you're coming to learn, but nobody wants to hire an intern that is a liability. They're hiring you as an intern so that you can come in, learn for some time, and start adding value to the company and help in, adding value, help them in making money too, so that they can pay your salary. So you should be able to convince them that you are that candidate you're looking for. Your professional summary should sum that up. So I can see your skill set. You have Python, you put the range, the kind of how far you are with web development, C programming, Android development. You have all these skills. It's good, but I still feel that you should, organize these things to be well structured, format it properly so that it can actually make sense. Now, for me, I have CVs that my skill sets are down, but I tell people once after your career summary, the second thing should be your skill. Because honestly, some people don't even have that patience to read your whole entire CV. They just look at your career summary, look at your skills, look at some of the experience you've had. Now, for this person, I'm sure that there are some projects that you don't have any experience, fine and good. But I'm sure that there are some projects you have worked on, even if it is very little. Just if you've not worked on, try and work on something. Because even if you're applying a job as an intern, you're not coming to tell them, hey, I just want to come and learn, or teach me. No, you have to show them that you want to learn, but you add value. Do you understand? So, okay, now somebody asks of organizing it. There are so many ways to organize CV. Personally, me, I used, some people don't like using template, but there's this what's it called? I think CV Write or something. I just paid for 1 month. I looked at, they have very good templates. Do you understand? Very, very good templates. I kind of took like 3 of their templates, and when you're typing it in, it will be organizing it for you. But if you cannot afford it, do you understand? You can use your MS Word. Most of us here are tech savvy. You can use your MS Word, open it, you just start arranging it. The first should have your name, your contact details. Another thing is, if maybe your address, not your full address, maybe just a brief about where you are if you're in Nigeria. But if you want to apply for a job remotely and you're in Nigeria, just remove the address first. Do you understand? Maybe because you don't want them to know where you are. But I'm in the UK and I'm looking for a job in the Northeast, Newcastle and Northeast. So I had to put, so they will know where they are looking for the job. Like when recruiters speak in my CV, they will know where they can actually help me. You put your name, your contact details that they can, your email and your phone number. Is enough of contact details. The first thing, the second phase should be your career summary. Like I presented my CV here, right? Once you put down your career summary, the next phase should be your skill set. Now, you talk about your skills and everything. After your skills, the next step should be your job experience. Where and you've worked. You now start in that job experience, you now start talking about your responsibilities and all. Then when you're done with your experience, you can now talk about your education, and if you have links projects, you can include them. If you have portfolios, you can include them and all that. Then lastly, you add references, because I added my reference because most companies requested for it. Before they have you, they want to know the people that are referencing you, to be sure before they take you in. If they can call them before they interview you or stuff like that, they will like it. Some companies don't ask for it. So I added my reference because most companies here in the UK, they are requesting for it. So I just added it in my CV, right? So it's very simple. CV is not something you just scatter anyhow and present. Nobody, because like I said, CV sells you. So you have to be very, very intentional about it. So I'll allow some, I don't know, should we start taking questions, or should someone review one of his CV? Or I think we should just start taking questions, because we don't really have time. It's after 5 and people are already exiting the meeting. So if you have any question, you can ask. If you don't have, I will allow someone to edit, to.
No, let them ask their question. I think everything that I was supposed to say, you've already shared it on some of them. So let them go on.
Yeah. So like the person that asks, how do you organize? Because I don't even know how to create a CV, talk more of organizing it. Oh, wow. Okay. I think I've touched more on how to organize your CV. Like I said, a CV is what, yes, I understand you have to be very honest, and I really, really appreciate that. But there are more details into creating CV. So Somto, please, if you can touch more on this whole CV stuff, I would really appreciate it. So yeah.
So when it comes to how you can create. I think one thing that scares people away from the CV talk is sometimes they feel they are underexperienced to even have content on their CV.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but you have to be, if you don't have many years of experience, you have to be a good storyteller, right? You have to speak volumes to the little you've done. It doesn't have to, you need to have that self-esteem to put more detail into the little you have. If you've gone to university and you're just graduating and you don't have a work experience, but you have the coding skill, you've done few projects and all, put into detail, right? Your team, maybe your university stages. If you did a project, even your final year project, because I know anybody that's doing a computer-based course has a final year project that's always technical. That could serve as your first experience. You don't have to have worked in a big company or some sort, but you have to like put in details, explain, just like you shared about the person that did payment integration. You might think it's small, but a lot of people don't know how to do payment integration. So, and you have to stretch like the detail, you have to go into detail of what you've done, right? Another thing is you ask the question of you don't even know where to start, something like that. Madam Mulama talked about using platforms that have templates. You understand? It's not some of these things you don't come up with it from thin air. Some of these things you like in those templates applications. I think Zeti, Resume IO used to be free, but they are paid now. But I know Zeti is one. I think Zeti here is one of the things I know is free. If you come to Zeti, they have by the section they have AI, right? I think you can it will be generating those terms based on the information you give it, right? So you can use it. It will even help you detail some of your own experiences. Another thing is if you have people, sometimes people can help you figure out what you have done, right? Like you might have done certain things that you don't consider it's qualified enough, but someone else can bring it, fine-tune it for you, and you see how much of a gold that you carry around, right? But you don't know how to like share that with people that potential employers and all. So for you, when it comes to structure, I would advise you to go straight for templates because you're trying to figure out how to even create one. So go straight for templates, follow what you find on those templates. Most times they would give you a very good structure to start from. Then you can now implement all the things Madam Olama suggested here, right? In terms of like, summary and putting in your skills and all into that.
Okay, thank you very much for that insightful session. I think somebody was asking initially, what's the name of the website that you did that ATS scan? So I don't know if that question has been attended to. ATS websites.
Job scan. See, I can put
Okay,
it on the
so just
copy the site and put it here.
okay. So please, if you have any questions, no matter how small they might be, please put them in the chat box, and then I would the link is available now. So if you have any other questions, you can put them on the chat box, and then I'll just read them out and have them answered.
Somebody wrote, thank you so much for this wonderful work. How do one register as a beginner in the world of tech without having any special skill or any knowledge in tech? Now, I want to say something. Before you write yourself off, just know that there are so many people. There are so many people who are doing amazing things in the world of tech today that did not have background in tech. One person I know is my younger brother, I will call him. He's a pharmacist. Somto talked about his friend who is a lawyer. Tell me what is the relationship. Only here is a pharmacist, but she's into tech. She's a product manager, right? So I just tell people, it doesn't really matter your background, you know, just know that tech is for everybody. Now, for me, people that have met me, and once I tell them that thing, they go, I don't see them again. You know, you have to do some certain level of research. No matter what you want to do in this life, you have to put in the work. Nobody will come and carry food and feed you. Like, nobody will spoon feed you, you know. For me, I think you should do some certain level of research. There are, you know, in brief, I can tell you, there are, when it comes to tech, there are technical skills, there are non-technical skills. Those are the skills that don't require coding. So now, the skills that require coding, in brief, you can have the software engineering, the DevOps, the cybersecurity, you know, the data analyst and all that. Now, the other field you have, the other career path that doesn't require coding, you have the project manager, the product manager, the QA tester, that's the QA people, the Scrum Master. There's a lot. So it now depends on you to ask yourself, which one do I want to? Do a brief research about them. You know, I tell people who study things like, they have business analysts, you understand? There's a kind of courses you study in school, they have UI UX design. If you're someone that, you know, you like seeing things beautiful, I even tell people that makeup artists will make good UI UX designers, because, you know, you see some very good guys that they design beautiful stuff, they design sweet products, you know. If you have interest in all that, you can go for that. So I think it's a whole lot, but you have to do some certain level of research, because if you now come and ask me, okay, I've done this research, and which one do you think? Okay, I think I'm interested in product, being a product designer, being a project manager. Which one do I go towards to? I can now advise. Secondly, another advice I give is, if you want to switch into tech, you don't just switch into tech that is what other people are doing. You know, you can look at the career paths that I've talked about, interests. You can also look at the career paths that people that have job opportunities, because what discourages people is that after going through this boot camp and everything, they don't have job. You know, the career path, I can tell you that now, there are job opportunities there. You see software engineering, you see DevOps, you see cybersecurity. You know, data is there too, but I think it's oversaturated. Now, all these technical skills, there are more job opportunities there, and they pay more than the non-technical skills. So, my dear, you don't need to have a special skill. Oh, I think I will allow Sonto to take this. Sonto did not, you know, sell himself very well. Sonto has a boot camp. The name of his boot camp, Abi, is an online platform. It's called Lang. So you people can start registering. Sonto, people are looking. So you can, you know, he talked about it in a surface level. Yeah. That's why I'm collaborating with him, so that he can tell you some of the courses he offers and what you can learn from his platform. I don't run bootcamp. I used to do free training before, but it's a whole lot for me to handle. But, you know, he has all the time in the whole world. So over to you.
All right, thank you. So we have a platform that, you know, you can learn from, but basically it's an open platform where people can host live programs, live courses, and you can learn as well. So basically it saves you that time of going to sign up in a physical location and spend a lot of money. On average, if you're using AppTech or NIT, you're spending about 300 to 250,000 to learn a skill. But on our platform, we partner with top experts, instructors, to create a program, right, depending on the instructor skill sets. And it costs maybe about 10,000 monthly. On average, you spend maybe 50,000 or 60,000 if a program lasts up to 6 months. So it cuts the expenses to maybe 70% down, and it's really structured to support someone who is already working. So if you're a banker, if you're an engineer, if you're a mechanic or something, you can be working your day-to-day job and then attending live programs. So it's not, you don't just go and watch courses. No, it's a live program like this one where you're taught, you come back, you assess your courses, and you can watch the videos, do your assignment. At the end of the month, you make payment for your program. So at this point, because initially we were handling instructors ourselves internally, so we had to rebrand the company to have instructors that we don't manage, right? But we kind of vet them before they use our system. So we are going to be putting that live by that should be 15th, right, of this month. And we're going to be launching some courses on web by top instructors in the space, and UI UX design. So if you're doing UI UX design and you want to learn, feel free to hit my DM, please. I will share can I share, Onye, can you share, maybe you can share, can I share my contacts here on the chat? Olama?
Why am I collaborating? Feel free, share your contacts. They should meet you.
All right.
You know, I go for the best. So when you want to learn, personally, I don't teach. I just show you the way. Go to something.
So
this will be this will be a good opportunity to tell those that are not on our WhatsApp community to join, because after now this number might disappear, but we are going to not only post the number but also post like the live recording of this whole presentation. So if you've not joined our WhatsApp community, please join. These are all the things that the community members are enjoying.
Yeah. So you can reach out to me if you want into animation. We're partnering with one of the best animation engineers in Enugu right now. He has handled many programs in Enugu before. We're going to partner with him and launching a course on the platform as well. So if you want game character development and all, so just feel free to reach out to me. I can actually help you figure out what aspects that suits you based on your work experience and all.
Okay, before we continue, I'm just led by the Spirit to give out a scholarship to one person here. So if you are here and you really want to transition to tech, I'm going to give you a scholarship, but you would have to, we will prepare a form, but for you to get access to that form, I'm going to put out a code here. So number one, you have to belong to our community, or you can chat up my colleague Onini. Onini you present it. So it's only these people here that will have that code. So I'm just going to type out a random code. Onini, please save this code here. So this code, I don't know. Just save it somewhere. If you send her a DM, present this code to her, she will give you a small form to fill out. At the end of the day, we will pick one person, and that person will have a scholarship to, study whatever they want to study in Code Lang Sonto's bootcamp. So yes, this is what we do, but you only get that when you attend our webinars. So yes.
Oh, that is so amazing. Yeah, Vision Bling is the gift that keeps on giving. I don't think there's any other bootcamp that is doing this kind of thing that we are doing.
So
can they ever?
They can't.
They can't. Okay. Yes, this is so huge. Exactly. So all you need to do is just to copy the code. You have to join. When you join the community with the link that I sent, you will see that I'm one of the admin. Onyinye is where you're going to see Onyinye there. So you just follow from there and send me a chat, and then we'll take things up from there. So I don't know if any other person has any other questions Time is fast spent. If there's any other questions that you have, um, yes, you're lucky to be here. So if there isn't any other questions, I think we'll just go ahead and just do vote of thanks, and then we can call it an insightful webinar. I hope you were blessed. Can I get some feedback? If you learned one or two things from this webinar, please, can you do a show of hands by maybe clapping or sending in an emoji? Exactly. Lovely. Lovely. So I don't think there's, oh wow. Yes. I don't think we have any other questions. So I'm so blessed to be here. They know they do good past like this. Exactly. And a lot of people Benedict seems to be so happy. This is actually an opportunity, right? A very big one at that. And she's saying it so casually, as if people don't pay in thousands to learn anything in tech, basically, right? So thank you so much, Ma, for having such a huge heart. If you remember in the beginning, I said that we have not at any point since the inception of Vision Bling collected money from anybody. All we've been doing has been out of a place of passion, and instead of even collecting, we just keep on giving, right? And I didn't even know about this scholarship up until like she said, she was led by this place, so this was not even previously discussed. So I really want to thank you so much for having such a huge heart, and for having that passion and zeal to empower young people to transition into tech. And also, Somto, thank you so much. You are doing a lot, and you actually brought out time to be here because you also share in that same passion. I want to thank you so much. Thank you to everyone that found that time to join this. I know that we have me too. I've also learned, because my CV, if I should bring out my CV, will cry for me. But from this, even people that are not interested in software engineering per se, that CV aspect is literally for everybody, because you need a CV to do anything in this, like to get any job, right? So that CV it goes beyond just software engineering. You can use it to apply for anything. And I know that I got 1 or 2 points that I will also use to go back and enhance my CV. So thank you so much, Somto. Thank you so much, Madam Uloma, for this insightful webinar. So we have a YouTube channel, right? I think Chiamaka posted it here. If this is not the first webinar we are doing, and hopefully it's not the last, we've done a lot of webinars in the past. Someone was even asking about cloud engineering. Our previous webinar was, I think, during May, June, we had that, right? And we've had like previous trainings and other webinars. So you can catch up on all our other webinars on our YouTube channel. Either you follow the link or you search Vision Bling on YouTube, and then you have access to every single thing that we have done. I don't even know, like, this sounds too good to be true, but it's actually what we do. We just have a huge heart. We just have passion, right? And don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn. And our WhatsApp community is actually where we pass along information like this. And if there's any news of any scholarship or any news of any free training, our community members, our WhatsApp community members are those that get first-hand information before it goes out to the public. So you'll be doing yourself great service. Even if you're not part of the person that's going to be selected for this scholarship, there are other opportunities that will come up in the future. There are other webinars that will come up in the futures. So you do yourself great good by joining that WhatsApp community, right? So yes, subscribe. Thank you. Join the YouTube page, subscribe, like, also follow us on Instagram, vision_bling on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. So I don't know if the speakers have any other last words, right? Anything to just say before we close I say last word as if they are dying. I beg, not last words.
I'm not dying.
You know what I mean.
Please follow me on my TikTok page.
Oh my God, how could I forget that?
Dish out tech nuggets there. I know.
Yes, how could I forget that? Please forgive my sin. So Madam has dedicated, mind you, she's very busy, right? She has a full-time job and she's also a full-time mom, but she has also brought out time from a very busy schedule to open a TikTok page where she just shares very short nuggets on everything tech, right? So Ma, can you copy the link and paste here so that they can also, so if you follow it, it's not all these ones where they are dancing. When you follow her on TikTok, you actually gain knowledge, actually gain insights, right? So it's not just children's play. And this is this goes to show how huge and big her heart is and the passion that she has. Nobody's paying her a dime, but she has just brought out time and taking it upon herself to make sure that if you're a young person out there, you shouldn't be confused, right? You shouldn't be confused. If you're confused, once you come to Vision Blink's page and Olomo Kenny's page on TikTok, you will definitely get one or two things. So I don't know if we have any other thing to say. Somto, do you have any last? I don't want to say last words. I don't know. Nothing else is coming to my mind. Do you have any last comments? Any advice, basically, for people that are just starting out their careers?
So last week I discovered something about what I was working on, speed and pressure, right? It makes a lot of difference. Consistency, speed, and pressure. So if you keep to that, you will get to any place you want to go. That's all I have for anyone here. Thank you.
Wow, that's so amazing. Consistency, speed, and pressure. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Dropped my account there, but I just want to say something briefly. Just know that some of us joined this whole transition to text for so many wrong reasons. Some of us join because they are passionate about it. Some of us join because they want to make a good life for themselves. But I just want to let you know that you see that beginning phase is never easy. Don't be discouraged. Some talk can tell you that beginning phase of learning and everything is never easy. But like he said, once you're consistent, once you're passionate, it doesn't really matter the career path. It doesn't have to be software engineering. Anyone, just know that within few years with consistency, it will start paying off. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Wow, thank you so much. And Akukwa Keba. Okay, I think we have officially, yes, thank you so much for all those claps. We have officially come to the end of Vision Bling Webinar 7.0. I want to thank each and every one of you for bringing out your time to attend, and I know that you learned a lot. So don't forget to follow us on YouTube, like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well. So this is where we draw the curtain. Have a lovely week ahead. Today is Sunday, Monday work starts. Have a lovely week ahead, and stay technified. Bye.